Finance Committee meeting of April 9th, 2018, called at 7:01. All committee members are here with Brittany Morrison. No comments from the public, no old business. April bills. Anybody? Question?
Everything was pretty straightforward.
Any question on impress or deposits?
Just not enough.
Not enough. Yes.
Let's see.
And we have CDS bills totaling $2,001. Any question on those?
No.
And rejection of the protective sports equipment check.
Okay, so at the end of last year, Mr. O'Malley had been working with Protective Sports Equipment to get these helmet covers that the football teams were going to use. So he went through the whole process, got all the information, talked with athletic directors, but it actually turns out that we can't use them in games. They don't meet IHSA regulations. They also void our warranty on the helmets. And we figured out that putting them actually on the helmet strips the paint off of it. So, we get our new helmets in from BSN, and they were actually going to be ruining the helmets. We contacted the company, told them that we were not going to be using them, and gave them our reasons as to why. The warranty doesn't meet IHSA regulations. They can't be used during football games. So we told them that, and they actually only delivered 2 schools. So now we're having the board completely reject the check altogether to make it official that we're not going to be using these helmet covers, and that we're not going to be under contract with them, basically. And so we don't owe them any money because we're not using them at all. We didn't use them at all this entire season.
And
so.
we didn't pay for anything up
We did not. No, we cut the check assuming that we were going to, but then we kind of figured out through more research and in talking with Rydell and BSN, who do our football helmets, figured out that it wasn't going to work. So in anticipation of using them, we cut the check just to be prepared, but now we're not going to be using them.
So is there anything, backlash, or was there return policy since it doesn't meet standards, but we
Fee or the return fee?
There's not a return fee. Actually, it was in the original paperwork that if there were any issues and we weren't going to be using them, they would be picking them up free of charge. They did reach out to Dr. Kendall a couple of times, kind of trying to negotiate a little bit more on whether or not we wanted to use them, and we basically just said there's really nothing we can do. We can't have our teams using them. It doesn't meet the IHSA standards. So, they have reached out, like I said, a couple of times to Dr. Kendall. We had our attorney, Ray Hauser, write a letter basically stating, you put this in your contract that if we decided not to use them, you would pick them up free of charge. And there hasn't been any other communication since then. So this will be the last piece of it.
So it was a cover that went over the helmet?
Yeah, it just basically, it was like a protective helmet cover that was supposed to, help in reducing concussions and things like that. But unfortunately, we can't use them per the IHSA standards, and it voids our warranty on them.
Do you know what they're requiring now? Can you do anything to buffer that? Because I know there was, our fields already take care of a lot of the shock absorption.
Yes, that was like one of the huge pieces about the turf, that our fields were going to be the best. They gave the rating for the best.
So this was over the top, just extra protection.
Right.
Because I know they already have some kind of buffer there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious if the whole purpose of the product is to protect, is to add protection. What IHSA standard did it? Mm-hmm. Do you know?
Right, no, I don't know. We just reached out to BSN, who does our helmets, and they basically said there's no way you guys will be able to use these because they're not allowed. And actually, if we would have bought them, we would have been the first school in Illinois to have them. So
really?
It's not like the other schools are using it. They're not. So that's kind of a huge indicator for us as well.
I remember when Tom, when this first came about, he was very excited about it. Didn't he see this at the state conference or something? That
You know, I
that part
honestly
kind of-
don't know where these came from. I just kind of, I
was it some
really
kind
don't
of
know.
meeting or conference or something that he first heard about it? Because he was really
I think
excited about it.
I think that it was, but like I said, we would have been the first school in Illinois, and they've
Yeah.
made that very clear to us. You know, you guys are
Makes it-
leading the way for
But
these
the people that are
undercovers.
bringing these vendors into us,
They're
you
not
would
even
think they'd be a little
validating.
bit more.
Right. So, like I said, we did not use them at all during this past football season, and we can't use them. Otherwise, we can't play in IHSA games. So then we're going to just recommend that check number 28035 be rejected as an official. The board is saying that we're rejecting payment.
Are you okay with that? We're good.
Okay, and then the last piece of it, this has been a practice for District 228 for many years now, an operating budget for the upcoming fiscal year. This basically just says that we can open up our next fiscal year at 50% of what this year's budget was. We do have many orders that we need to get placed before this year ends in order to make it in time for the start of next school year. So what we do is we just take whatever the budget was this year and we cut it in half, and that's what we operate at just to make sure that we get these time-sensitive orders in. The operating budget will just be a work in progress. In July, you'll see a tentative budget. You know, as more information becomes available and we start getting things more finely tuned, then you'll start to see a more accurate budget. But just for now, to make sure that these orders make it in time for the start of the school year, textbooks, supplies, different things like that, we need to make sure that we have an operating budget in place so that secretaries and supervisors can start placing these orders, and then we make sure that we have them in time for August, basically.
So, okay. Not a financial guru, just want to make sure. Because I know some expenses are dealt out, or you have to have a budget by October. But for the schools, we have to have it by August. But the end of, like, our period for all financials to be in for what we're going to spend even through the summer is July 30th, right?
Well, so the final budget will get adopted at the September
Our
board
budgets,
meeting.
yeah,
Okay, September.
September, right. Now, that budget will cover July 1 through June 30. So that budget that you adopt in September covers that current fiscal year. We'll give you a tentative budget probably at the July meeting so you can kind of see where it's going, what we've got going on. But yeah, the final budget will be September. And then that covers you from July 1 through June 30 of that fiscal year.
So, of 2018-19.
Correct. That will be next fiscal.
And then it has to be on display for 30
The one
days
in
or
July.
60 days.
Right.
30.
July is 30.
So,
Mhm.
so you're just saying this opening budget goes to
50%.
50%.
It'll get us
Now.
through July and August.
Okay.
Right. Right. You know, all the summer orders, the companies get so many, we always want to make sure that we have them in plenty of time to make sure that the students have them for the beginning of the year. So this is just very rough 50% of what you got last year to make sure that we get all of our orders in. And then you guys know that there's a committee of the whole meeting on April 30th. That will be in place of our finance meeting. So that'll be held at Oak Forest High School. 7 p.m. You won't come here for a finance meeting for May. You'll just go to the committee of the whole meeting.
Was that originally scheduled for a different date? Why do we have like April 14th or something like that?
The committee of the whole meeting?
Yeah.
We talked about April, but we never really set a
Never
date
set a
until
date,
we figured it would be kind of an overload of meetings to do, you know, finance, especially because the board meeting's early in May due to graduation. So yeah, we're just going to do the committee of the whole. We'll give you a nice little construction update and fill you in on all that. So.
And out there with their machines.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Okay.
So anyways, that's all I have.
All right.